Hey guys, it's Corey again over Cyber Strategies AI. Today we're taking a look at this no code or low code platform that's probably a little more developer oriented than just someone who isn't a developer. I think it gives you more options. I noticed that some of the things are a little more complex in there, but it's really cool because number one, it's quite a bit cheaper than something like Zapier, and it works very much like Zapier. It's got a lot of the same features and functionality. It's got a whole bunch of connectivity. Being open source, I think people are really jumping on this platform and taking a look. And I'm a developer myself. I come from a lot of years of developing in a variety of different ways and places. It's always nice to have the control, absolutely nice to have the control, but the higher the level you can get in your programming, the more code you will generate. And I mean, you can still apply all your techniques and methodologies, even in some of these higher level platforms. I've done some videos on that, doing some modularity, extensibility, maintainability, those kinds of things. You're not going to be able to get, all of the software engineering. You're not going to tick all the software engineering boxes, but the other thing you're going to do is you're going to have a lot less time debugging this and trying to, just testing your flows, because there's a lot of canned stuff here. There's a lot of stuff that's pre-made, and you're working at a higher level, working on the actual automation, trying to get it, trying to get the high level functionality going of what you need to make happen. And I've worked at all levels of software, actually, probably a lot less at this level, this very, very high level. So anyhow, back to N8N. So this is a workflow automation software. It is open source, lots of support for it. There are groups out there, and I'm just starting to dig into it. And Air.ai actually turned me on to this and said, hey, why don't you check this thing out? So I was looking at the pricing over on Zapier and comparing that, looking at pricing here. Zapier, their $20 a month plan looks like you get 100 tasks, and a task is an execution step basically. And I know it's not every single execution step, but it's quite a few, and they charge so much per, it's like 0.2 of a cent or something like that per execution step. So it's very hard to compare some of these platforms, like comparing this to GHL, for instance. GHL, let's say you need the CRM and you're paying for the platform already. Now, when you go to execute it, the execution cost of those steps is way, way less than Zapier is. So I don't know. You could try to compare, those two different options, and carving out a piece of the monthly expenditure with respect to that automation versus the CRM or a web hosting, or pick your whole myriad of things that GHL does. But anyhow, I'm just going to focus on this part here. Go into about 2,000 tasks. We jump up to about $50 a month, and N8N came in about $20 a month for 2,500 executions, and then unlimited steps in that. So they tokenize, shall we say, tokenize. What I mean is there's an internal accounting system on these things that uses some sort of abstraction of these, of your $20 a month basically. And so they're saying 2,500 executions, unlimited steps in 5 active workflows. So I think Zapier doesn't say how many active workflows. So N8N might be a little bit more restrictive on that. Not clear here to say this is just the number of task steps. Anyhow, it looks like you'd be, if you could fit all your work into 5 tasks, into 5 active workflows, then 2,500 workflow executions is included in your $20 a month. And this is the annual pricing right here. Anyhow, where you kind of really deviate on N8N is the fact that you can self-host it. And I'll show you that. It says self-hostable right here. So full source code. So if you're a developer and you want to get in there and monkey with that stuff, I suppose you could go do that and change behaviors of it, which is totally your prerogative. You're just going to have to maintain that new version. And it's self-hostable. So what I've done today is I went over to Railway and took a look at their I'm just doing their trial right here. So I got a $5 credit for creating an account. So it's just $5 lifetime. So you get $5 worth of executions for that. But what is really cool was I went here to create and jumped down here to template. And there are all these different templates. So I said N8N. And it shows me all these different N8N install templates, if you will. So I just grabbed. I didn't grab the FlowWise. I'll be checking that out later too. The FlowWise is something that is interesting to me. I've recently learned a little bit about. But I grabbed this one with the webhook processor. So I don't know that much about these different installations. They are not very well documented on here, but I grabbed this one. So with the webhook processors. It also showed, oh, actually, that's interesting because I started out pulling down this one right here, 976 downloads of that one. But this one was 5,346 downloads, and then I grabbed this one, it was 499. So this is the one I actually grabbed, and you just install it. There's really not much you have to do when it installs. It just happened to install all these different pieces. So this is database. This is a worker. These are all three workers, it looks like. They're N8N workers. And I chose, and I dug into this one to find my main address, which was interesting. And Redis. I don't know what this is. Anyhow, this is going to install the database. It's going to be necessary for your flows. It just installed it. So it was actually pretty cool. And I went here to this primary address, that one right there, and that got me to here, where I created an account. It looks like I can only create one account, but I've set up self-hosting for my own N8N instance. Don't yet know how to manage the server, if you will, from the perspective of how many accounts can I create, what capabilities do those accounts have, etc. But the key here is that I've got an N8N instance up. I have it on this, running on this server, this Railway server, and they call it Adorable Art. I don't know why. They just named it that. That's this instance of this function. And I was actually able to log in, and I'm going to go try something here. I'm just going to trigger manually, click of a button in N8N, good for getting started quickly. Okay, so I'm going to say, okay, clicking test workflow, data transformation. See, we've got some ability here to run custom JavaScript or Python code in the middle of some code. So let's just throw that in there. I haven't looked at this one yet, but here's an option. You can write some code in there, which is very cool. Lux on verifying dates. Yeah, it's kind of reverse video there but anyway, you can pull out some date time information. Looks like pick up documentation and console log. That's always a good one to look at and see what's going on. Anyhow, don't even know how to close it. yeah, you always want to name, in my opinion, you want to name your nodes because you just can't leave them their default node. Anyhow, lots of things to explore. Oh, back to Canvas right there. And you can just build these things out. And another trigger flow. Okay, so yeah, I saw there was a additional here. There's a loop, which be kind of nice to loop in the flows on GHL, that's for sure. But this is split into batches. That's interesting. It might be interesting to add that in here. Yeah. Anyhow, yeah, there's a loop. That's kind of a cool little depiction of a loop. It's not snapping a grid the way I would think it would. Anyhow, just a variety of different things. I'm not very familiar with it yet, so just now getting started.